What's up everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another Pioneer video, and today we're going to be getting some gameplay of the Abzan Greasefang deck that we actually went over just earlier this week. Gonna be going over some of the key differences, at least in like the two versions that I know of like the Greasefang deck and kind of the evolution that this deck has taken, as we know, in the current Pioneer format as of the recording of this video. Of course, before we get too deep into it, I just want to say if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you love Pioneer and modern content, I post a decent amount of it, along with some other like freeform, like essay stuff that I think is kind of interesting. So if any of that stuff interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel, ring notification bell so you know when I upload videos. In the description of this video, there's going to be two links, one to the Discord server that I run. Go ahead and follow that link over there. Go ahead, join. It's, talk about magic, stuff like that. That's always fun, right? And the other one is to my Twitch channel. If you ever want to see me like go live, I plan on going live hopefully this weekend, playing some Resident Evil 4 remake and just hanging out and stuff. So if that interests you, go ahead and follow me on Twitch as well. So, Abzan Greasefang, the version that we decided to play is leaning more on the card Eldritch Evolution, which you can pay a double green and one, sacrifice a creature as an additional cost, and then search for a creature with mana value X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value. You put it onto the battlefield, and then you shuffle your library and exile Eldritch Evolution. So you are then playing, 12 2 mana cards. You're playing like your Satyr Wayfinders, your Rafine's Informant, and Professor of Symbology, essentially being like another copy of Rafine's Informant. The conniving a little bit better just because you get to draw and then discard. Professor of Symbology, if you choose to draw, it's more of like a rummage. You discard a card to draw a card, but you get this added benefit of learning, where you can get a lesson card from like, your sideboard, to which this deck plays 3 of them in Necrotic Fumes to get rid of some annoying creatures or planeswalkers. Basic Conjuration lets you dig a little bit deeper for a creature card, maybe like a Greasefang or maybe like a Rafine's Informant to put one of your many vehicles into the graveyard. And you also have Containment Breach as like a main deck way of dealing with artifacts and or enchantments, and then getting a little 1/1 if you destroy a uh, artifact or enchantment with mana value 2 or less, more than likely going to be like unlicensed hearses and Grafdigger's Cages and things like that, that you're going to be hitting with Containment Breach. So typical versions of this deck, and I think the one that might be a little bit more popular than this is like the Traverse version, where you can, just put 4 different card types in your graveyard, traverse for like your Greasefangs, traverse for, any of your other creatures to hopefully put these vehicles into the graveyard. What this deck gets with Eldritch Evolution is getting to play essentially another set of Rafine's Informant, or that type effect, with the added bonus of getting some cards from the sideboard, and the fact that Eldritch Evolution is essentially going to get like a 4-cost creature. The deck plays a 1 Shieldred in the main deck and plays another in the sideboard. Shieldred, as we know, like unchecked, is just amazing. Like it's very hard to beat in combat. It's kind of hard to find like removal spells that like cleanly deal with Shieldred. And again, if it just sticks on the battlefield for too long, it's very hard for your opponent to overcome. So like they're trying to figure out how to deal with this, and you also have your combo of like Greasefang plus like Parhelion, Sky Sovereign, or Iska's Chariot, and just winning the game that way. You do have a Can't Stay Away in the main deck to get back a Greasefang, and of course like the ability to flash it back if you mill it over with like a Satyr Wayfinder, or discard it with like Rafine's Informant, Professor of Symbology, and so on. So that is the Abzan Greasefang deck that we're coming to play with. Let's get into some matches, see how it plays out. I played a few games to just kind of get the hang of the deck, and we had like a turn 3 in the first game. The opponent had to play exactly Stoke the Flames to stop us from winning game 2, and then game 3 we just like completely ran over them with, getting shielded and then assembling the Greasefang boat combo, so yeah, let's jump into the games. Let's see how this deck performs. Alrighty, here we are for the first game. I think this hand is a keep. We are on the draw with it, but we have 2 Greasefangs, so if they thought seize us, we get to hold on to one. We have Duress. If they're like a control deck, we can try to force through one of these. And having a Satyr Wayfinder to mill some cards gives us a good chance at finding one of the you know 3 vehicles that we want in our graveyard. Looks like playing against maybe some kind of rock deck. They shock and then pass. Go tapped and pass. One of these lands is going to come into play untapped, or come into play tapped, excuse me. So, not ideal, but you know, we just really need 3 mana on turn 3. Looks like some kind of soul tie deck. I would imagine they're going to play something. Archaeologist, when there's mill 3 cards, you put a non-creature non-land from among the cards into your hand. If you don't, put a counter on it. Okay. So maybe comes some kind of self-mill deck. We might see like Scarab God, another Archaeologist. I think it's a 1/4. And we draw another we draw another Greasefang, so I mean if our opponent like has Stone Cold nothing, or even if they have something, and we mill a Parhelion, so that's kind of lucky for us. We'll take the Darkboar pathway. That way we have a land that comes into play untapped. And we'll be able to like just play Greasefang on like turn 3. We have a stop set on our beginning of combat, so we're able to crew the Parhelion with the Greasefang once we get it back. Unfortunate, because I even like pointed out on the deck tag, I had no idea that Duress actually only targeted the opponent. I thought it would its target player, but for whatever reason, like that allows you to target an opponent, or only an opponent, but like Thoughtseize lets you target a player. You know, and you do have like those moments where like you can just like Thoughtseize yourself to like get rid of a card. You know, actually kind of hoping that our opponent like Thoughtseizes us, but it looks like they're probably gonna try to like maybe kick a Goyf. I'll play Jace. I mean, we're gonna go for it. No reason to play this deck and not jam it, especially when you draw 3 Greasefang. I mean, like, I'd imagine that, like, most of the people that actually play this deck are kind of, like, foaming at the mouth, and they just concede the game. Definitely didn't have an answer for the Greasefang. Maybe if they had, like, a Fatal Push, like, they only take 9 damage, but then they're staring at, like, a 4/4 Angel, and, of course, having a Rafine's Informant just means that we get to discard it again. So, just kind of had it all, and had, like, plenty of backup for their stuff. Now they are kind of like a graveyard deck, but I don't know if I want any of these cards. So, you know, we could bring in like the Bank Buster. It could be like a grindy matchup if they were playing like a kind of like soul tie, like value deck. Like Bank Buster could just be like a good vehicle to have on top of, you know, we get to, you know, bring it back with like a Greasefang or something and then draw a card and then it returns to our hand and we essentially get to draw like an extra card off of like our Bank Buster and stuff like that. Uh, maybe Unlicensed Hearst. I don't know if messing with their graveyards can be good. We did see a Scarab God, so like maybe just bringing these in just to be safe. I'm not going to cut the evolutions. You generally want to cut evolution against like counterspell decks. At least I do because especially in these decks, like you just kind of get 2 for 1 very easily. You spell countered and you lose a creature that you know could feasibly like get there. You know, it is like something that your opponent does have to try to beat through. But I am gonna cut a Thoughtseize. I'll probably cut a Duress as well. Thoughtseize is a little bit better because we can just discard one of our vehicles with a Thoughtseize if we need to, and it seems like they're kind of more like creature heavy than they are, you know, like non-creature heavy. So definitely like that as like kind of our sideboard plan. Get rid of like 2 of the discard spells and go up on the unlicensed Hearst just to start. Um, Generally, when I sideboard and I'm playing against the like mid-range decks and things like that, I like to, and I'm playing like a full set of Thoughtseize, you know, 6 discard spells. I like to kind of go down the discard spells because they generally tend to get worse. Like once you kind of like punch each other in the face, you know, you want your top decks to be, you know, good like Greasefangs and you know things like that, not just dead draws, not discard spells when you're basically playing off the top anyway. But you know this hand's pretty good. We have unlicensed Hearst. We have a sideboard card that we wanted. If our opponent looks like they're going to Thoughtseize Othanissa, did not expect that. If we did not see a breeding pool from them, like I know Mono Green, like for a while was playing like Overgrown Tomb. I don't know if that's like the technology now still, but you know that is something that they could, in theory, have. So we'll just play this Razor Ridge so they can pass the turn. We'll obviously get out these fast lands first before we play our pathway. With this mana confluence, it probably doesn't matter what we play the pathway on. Opponent thought seizes us. Sure. And we know they took the breeding pool, so they probably take Greasefang. Because like the rest of these cards like really aren't going to do a whole lot if they're worried about their graveyard. They do take Satyr Wayfinder. I guess also recognizing that we don't have a way to like discard the Parhelion. So like the Parhelion is just going to kind of sit in our hand. But this does allow us to play our Hearse. And like we're able to attack their graveyard and kind of keep it in check. And with this Eldritch Evolution, like future like Rafine's Informants, Professor of Symbology, the other 3 copies of Satyr Wayfinder end up getting a little bit better for the fact that like we're able to just nab a like Shieldred and kind of like close out the game that way in a way. This Grimflayer is like never going to get Delirious. I mean, not looking forward to taking 2 from it, but here we have Wayfinder. See what we hit. Godless Shrine. So there's Evolution Professor. Put a card in your hand. I guess we can take the Marsh. Yeah, we can take the Marsh. It's like the only other like card that we like color pair, I guess, that we don't necessarily have. So now we're able to pass. The Satyr Wayfinder not gonna be able to do much about the Grimflayer, but at least we will be able to eat whatever they decide to put in their graveyard, like set up with their draw. Even if they like mill all 3, like we'll be able to end step, do their thing, and then hit them again. And they actually errated this Surveil 3. That's honestly really good. That's like makes it just slightly better with some of the Surveil cards that or cards that care about Surveil. So they get rid of Murderous Rider, Zagatha Triome. So we'll get rid of Thoughtseize Rider. We're able to untap Beseiju. So I am definitely partial to just evolutioning this. Get rid of it. Fiend's Informant. So we have the option of technically getting like a Fiend's Informant, but I can't resist putting a Shielder into play. Like this is just going to be like so good for us. And this lets us play this on green, so if they do play something that we care about, we are able to stop it. You know, we're able to like if they play like a permanent necessarily that we like care about. Abrupt Decay. So then let's eat their Triome. I guess like that's fine. Like if they're abrupt decaying that, like they're not going to be able to hit like the Greasefang. And technically we can even play the Greasefang and get back the Hearse and, you know, eat cards if we have to. Sacrifice is a non-token. Tilt. That kind of sucks for us. But now that they're tapped out, or they have a Land of War Waste, excuse me, they'll get to fail again, but like we'll be able to put like a Greasefang onto the battlefield and get back on License Hearse, eat more of their graveyard, and sort of kind of like protect it from like the sorcery speed removal and just get to eat more. Just keep this Grimflayer as like a 2/2 for as long as possible. Just looking to see what they put into their graveyard. I would imagine probably to hit more, hit their land drops because they did miss land for quite a while. You know, just played the lands on the first 2 turns of the game. I kept them all. Interesting. All right, well, all right. So play that. Rafine's Informant. Definitely didn't mean to like play the land. I wanted to play the Informant. What do we discard? It's probably just the Parhelion. This will end the game. Or, you know, like eventually just end the game. So here we are. Here's our Greasefang. And we win the match. So That is essentially like the power of the deck. I mean, our opponent like stumbled, and then now we got to this point where even if they left up 2 mana, like we were sort of insulated from like Shieldred's Edict in a way. So yeah, that was cool. I guess let's head to the next match. So here we are for the second game. This hand is, it's not very exciting. We're on the draw. Our opponent kept 7. This hand is probably like okay, just because like East Coast Chariot's like reasonably like one of the best vehicles that we have. But I'm going to mulligan this hand, just like being in the dark. And this hand is not much better. 2 Chariots are essentially evolution target, and like a way to like discard something. But I think we can do it just a little bit better. Definitely can do better than that. And I guess we're probably gonna have to keep this hand. So we get to put 3 cards to the bottom, put a Shieldred, probably a Thicket. I really don't want to put the Parhealing because we could Thoughtseize ourselves, but then again, we're probably putting like Thoughtseize at the bottom, so like we'll bottom the Parhelion. That's probably wrong. We're probably supposed to keep the Parhelion now that I'm thinking about it. Immediately like regretting my decision. We're probably just gonna get Thoughtseized anyway on turn 1. Or it's like mill and we Thoughtseize. They're gonna take the Satyr Wayfinder. We're stuck with Thoughtseize and 2 lands. I mean, not very good that we had to mulligan to 4 against the Thoughtseize deck. If we knew that, we probably would have kept the 7-card hand for the fact that I would assume a deck like this has a very hard time beating like essentially like 2 Chariots. But they decided to take our Thoughtseize with their Thoughtseize, so obviously they probably have something for the Satyr Wayfinder. So we will play the land they know about tapped. You'll do the turn. See what our opponent does. So obviously, the absolute nuts would be like drawing something that we care about, and like Satyr Wayfinder, like milling a vehicle. Then playing like Castle Vantress. It's going second main phase. Going to our turn, and we drew we drew Greasefang. So if our opponent doesn't have an answer for this Satyr Wayfinder, which I would imagine is probably like a not silence, the counter spell that like counters it unless you pay 1. Censor, yeah. Nope, nope. All right, so we're hoping for a Rafine's Informant that magically draws us a vehicle when it enters. We're looking for like another Satyr Wayfinder. Even like just drawing the vehicle is fine because again, then we have like all those 8 cards, the Symbology and Rafine's Informant as well to get it in the graveyard. Thoughtseize. Play Courtyard and pass. So we can kind of set up a turn where we Thoughtseize our opponent and then like try to resolve a Greasefang. We probably only have like so many turns to actually do it for the fact that our opponent could just draw like enough counter magic to where we can, you know, take their hard counter, but then we're still left with, like another Censor or something like that, and like we'll have to wait till the next turn. That gives them another draw step or 2 to find an answer for what we have. Our opponent goes straight to their end step, so they do not have a land. We draw Eldritch Evolution, still just looking for one of our like 11 other like 2-drops in our deck, and then hopefully, like ideally, we would have Satyr Wayfinder. This is Shark Typhoon. Yep. Cycle, make a 1/1. Hopefully we find the Satyr Wayfinder, because then Wayfinder has a chance of like digging us towards like a land that produces green mana. So then we could like Thoughtseize plus Evolution and make life difficult for our opponent. It's not too difficult because then like it still has to mill over a vehicle. Really just want to like draw another Satyr Wayfinder. Just willed it to the top of our deck. Uh, this is definitely worth thought seizing because like we definitely want this card to resolve because it's going to hinge on a lot of our game plan. If our opponent just counters this, then we'll probably just jam the Satyr Wayfinder because the Thoughtseize would have like essentially done its job just by getting some kind of like counter out of our opponent's hand. However, if it's like a Jawari disruption or another sensor, we might consider just paying for it and just getting to look at our opponent's hand because we essentially get to take another card. Put a card on top of their library. Must be some kind of hard counter. Obviously, they tap out, then we just Satyr Wayfinder, which looks like it might just be like a Drown Lock. Sure. Here's this. I don't think that there's a. Yeah, I didn't think there would be like a one mana counter. They might have like Fatal Push or something like that. Like they could Fatal Push this. Although it's obviously not as good as like getting a Greasefang with it, but they might not have any ways to trigger Revolt. So we found a green mana and we found Sky Sovereign. I mean that's pretty good. And we'll put this into our hand and then we'll play it tapped and pass. Our opponent finding like a counter spell for the Thoughtseize is a little sad for the fact that we obviously would have wanted to see their hand to see if like the coast is clear. But they did keep on top with the consider to find the drown in the lock. So we'll kind of see. It looks like they're just straight like blue-black control at this point. Drawing like a drawing the third Thoughtseize or a duress would be like really clutch. Professor Symbology. So we have a choice. Uh, as we pointed out, like in the deck tech, if we evolution sacrificing the Satyr Wayfinder, it could be pretty bad for us in that regard. We could also just like start jamming these Greasefangs into it. And I think with them having limited mana and like they're gonna start getting to scry with Castle Ardenvale, I think we have to kind of like, at least in my opinion, like I think we have to like try to push in a direction where like we can try to like win the game. So we'll Greasefang. Probably should Eldritch Evolution like while they try to maybe work through some of it. But I feel a little bit better playing like the Greasefang because the Eldritch Evolution could just like if we draw another land, we could like Professor plus Eldritch Evolution. Like again grind through like their hand, and then the Professor turning into like the third Greasefang or just into Shieldred and putting our opponent under the gun. They have a Sinister Sabotage, so they got Scry 1. And they put a card on top of their library. So if they decide that like they can kind of move in, like maybe like using a removal spell on the Satyr Wayfinder, a land gives us Professor plus Eldritch Evolution, to which if our opponent like doesn't have a answer for like the Eldritch Evolution, we probably just go and get Greasefang, suit up a Sky Sovereign, and work through that way. But if our opponent goes near empty-handed, I almost think it's assuredly Shieldred. And to be honest, like we're kind of hoping for a land and this Satyr Wayfinder living, so that we're protected from Shieldred's Edict. Because that would be a way that it would just be like a total blowout for going and getting a creature, only for it to get beat by something like we could have played around. Thoughtseize, so they're going to more than likely take the Eldritch Evolution. Currently, the Satyr Wayfinder and the Shark, don't do a whole lot, I would say. Like the fact that like eventually they cannot get in for one with the Shark token, they'll have to leave it back for like the Satyr Wayfinder. And now that they took the Eldritch Evolution, there's no reason for me to not attack with this and like trade off with their Shark. Professor just a little bit more aggressive per Helion, so this we can just play. And assuming they have like a counter for it, we're just kind of like at this point just need to play out like our hand. Looks like another Sinister Sabotage maybe. So far 2 mana, I guess it could be like Drown in the Lock. Be their second drown. Oh, Dig Through Time. Okay, well that's pretty good. Dig Through Time, probably to find like a Drown in the Lock and counter the spell. Um, Hopefully not, so we can discard this Parhelion. Notably, Censor does not do it. We could, so we're just gonna kill it right away. Alright, Fatal Push, sure. We're gonna discard, draw the Sky Sovereign. So if we draw a land, we can play the Sky Sovereign, and it being in our graveyard, even though we have like the other copy of Sky Sovereign, isn't like necessarily like the worst thing in the world. If we draw, Rafine's Informant or another Professor, along with like this Satyr Wayfinder, it'll be able to crew the boat, and if we resolve it, it's gonna blow up the shark. Definitely want to hit a land or find another copy of Greasefang, or definitely Can't Stay Away would be a nice one as well. Alright, let's start by attacking. If our opponent decides to like spend mana to like kill the Satyr Wayfinder. 3 mana, is this another Memory Deluge at instant speed? I'm assuming to try and find a removal spell for the Satyr Wayfinder. And if they do, that just gives us a window to resolve Sky Sovereign. Which again, like, gets rid of the shark and kind of like solves our problem. Puts 2 cards in their hand. Cast Deluge. Yeah, has to put 2 cards in their hand, right? Cast spell, put 2 of them into your hand, the rest on the bottom. Get aggressive. I imagine they just like snap off a block. And there's no reason why you stop attacking with the shark token to like not block. Could have been better to like not necessarily give them the option, but especially after they like deluge on in the attack step. They have Spell Pierce, I'm gonna be so sad. Alright, go ahead. They shouldn't necessarily have a way to get this off the table. I mean, like other copies of like Drown the Lock do it. They haven't been hitting their land drop. Now they play their land, of course, but it's turn 9. They have like 6 lands in play, and they have to be running out of counters. Like they've played a decent amount of counters. Play this Professor. If this resolves, we probably learn. If they use a counter spell on it, that's fine because we have a decent amount of like top decks. So this will learn for the card that allows us to look at the top 6 cards. So we'll get Basic Conjuration. We'll just fire it off now. Like, random word, gain 3 life. This at least, like, if we find something, which is a lot of things. Another Professor. Let's go with Rafine's Informant. This essentially means that if we draw like a spell that we don't care about, like if we draw another vehicle, Rafine's Informant, they'll have to kill it with the trigger on the stack, because then if they don't, then we're able to crew the Sky Sovereign. Pretty long game one. We mulliganed to 4 in this game, and really, like, our opponent has, cast a Deluge. They've cast a Dig Through Time. They definitely have a lot that they have to try to work through, or a lot of cards that they have seen, and we've managed to resolve a Sky Sovereign. Really, if they don't kill the Professor of Symbology, if we resolve another creature, then we get to crew Sky Sovereign and attempt to win the game that way. And if they're using like removal spells on like the boats and stuff, then we're okay. Of course, now if they tick down, well, they only have the option to tick down our set. But if they find like a Drown the Lock or something, not going to be the best thing for us. However, the fact that we can lead on this Rafine's Informant, threaten a crew, and then attack with Narset, definitely Drown the Lock would be one of the worst cards for them to reveal. For the fact that like then we will be able to crew, and then it puts us in a bad spot because we want to attack with the Sky Sovereign. And if we don't attack with Sky Sovereign, we just attack with Professor. They just use this as a rule spell on the Professor, and we are kind of in the same place we were. We've seen a ton of spells and only like 5 lands too. We put 2 to the bottom. Isaka's Chariot. So they can consider possibly get Drown the Lock. And they could do that with like either. Let's go Rafine's Informant. If this resolves, I think that anything that is not Greasefang essentially like gets discarded. So they Surveil. We're up like 5 minutes on clock too. Like kept a card on top, so it's probably like a Drown the Lock. Unfortunate that we don't have another land. Resolves. So if they want to kill this thing like with the with its trigger on the stack, like we just crew Sky Sovereign and get in there, and then like this Narset's going down and our opponent's getting chunked for 6. However, if they let this resolve and we're able to put a counter on it, we can just crew it by itself and then attack both. Alright, so we will crew. Crew the boat. They don't have any way to kill it, so we are going to get rid of the Narset. And actually, the fact that we played this into it means that we have to discard the Chariot. Panic combat. Attack our opponent. 3 the Planeswalker. Put them to 4, and now any of our creatures resolve. It's lethal. Or not lethal, but we then have enough power to crew the Sky Sovereign again and attack that way if we need to. The Professor could just get in there and attack, and this is a 2-turn clock. But our opponent presumably has like a decent amount of interaction on top of like if they just hit another land and they're able to live, they get to flashback a Deluge and get to look at a ton of cards. Price that. So then we're looking for like another Rafine's Informant, essentially. Mana Confluence. We're gonna play out the lands because we could draw enough lands, like we could just play a Parhelion outright. Also the fact that if they just have like a stockpile of like sensors and stuff, which they would probably be cycling them now. Of course, they start doing that when I say that would be the most likely play. So yeah, they have like 2 sensors in hand. Definitely, if they have like the 4th one, let's say like that'd be like insane. But they are very far from winning the game. They have not put like a giant shark into play, and like the fact that the instant speed is kind of like terrible. But currently they can only do it for 4, and it's a 5-turn clock. Hall of Storm Giant's a much faster clock, but you know if they're attacking with it, then that gives us a window to resolve something. So something tells me that's not happening for a while. Like it could be very likely that we win this game on time. But then again, we're also like Rafine's Informant away from just being able to crew Sky Sovereign if we hit it. Can't Stay Away would be an amazing draw. Another Satyr Wayfinder would be good because then we could mill said Can't Stay Away. Eldritch Evolution, not good unless we have a creature. So we will just auto pass to the turn. They'll start scrying with their Catchful Vantress. Definitely missing on that draw step. Probably means that we lose the game, or you know, pretty close to losing the game. They're gonna get to scry. We're essentially gonna be looking for like Thoughtseize in conjunction with other things. 6 mana is probably like a Shark Typhoon. So this is for 4. And since they're taking forever to resolve it, they're going to have to try to win game 2 with like 10 minutes on the clock. And as we've kind of seen, they are not playing super fast. You know, so it just kind of is what it is. Um, that being said, you know, not necessarily in trouble per se. Definitely not in the greatest position. The shark is also big enough that it doesn't just die to Sky Sovereign shooting it. But you know we have some outs. You know, again, like if we just stick like a 2 mana creature and our opponent does not have anything, we can just win the game. Our opponent could decide to fire up Hall of the Storm Giants, give us a window to possibly resolve something. Then again, that would probably not be the best idea. Although a Thoughtseize to 2 essentially means that like now just any of our creatures minus Satyr Wayfinder is lethal. You know, Thoughtseizing probably not like super important. They push the 14. They can attack for 11 with Haul, or they can attack for 7 with Haul, but you know, with the shark it'll be 11. So the shark has to get in 2 more attacks before, you know, this attack and then the next one to be able to do something. And we're pretty priced into just playing this. And it resolves like we have 2 cats that can do lethal, and then also crew up the Sky Sovereign as well. So like if this resolves, like the cats are just going to cause a ton of problems. For the fact that I'm sure our opponent, the fact that they gave up a window to like just cash in the Memory Deluge in the graveyard. Guess I shouldn't yield unless they like actually just counter it. Looks like it's probably a Dig Through Time, which again like is going to take more time for them to like resolve. Yep, Dig Through Time. The 4th copy of Censor isn't going to do it, but like they probably have like 1 or 2 more Drown the Locks. I think they've only played 1 Drown the Lock, so the very good chance that they find another Drown to deal with the Chariot, and on top of that, like find something else, maybe find like another Shark Typhoon. But I guess if they counter the Chariot, then they can't Typhoon. So I'd imagine that this is going to be like a Drown the Lock, a Sinister Sabotage to counter. Oh no, the Chariot resolves. Okay. Uh, hmm. I don't. Huh. All right. Well, crew the boat. I'm sure that they probably have like a removal spell for this, but like if they play like Murderous Rider, like they can't play it. You know, I guess they could drown the Sky Sovereign, but you know, again, that leaves 2 lethal cats in play. Like they'll have to leave the shark back, and if they're leaving the shark back, that means that their time clock is getting pressured as well. Um, our opponent either missed or just didn't think it'd be that big of a deal. But now they're doing something. Fatal push a cat, sure. Yeah, that resolves. I would still like to. I don't think that works. Sacrifices a non-token creature. There's no non-token creature, so I think our opponent just completely. Yeah, our opponent just completely punted the game. They needed to wait until Sky Sovereign actually became a creature to Shieldred's Edict, and yeah, that's going to cost them the game, and they're going to be down on clock. You know, down almost. Well, down 10 minutes. Yikes. I mean, that's pretty rough. Obviously, not something that would happen in paper, and they just can see the match too. So what our opponent should have done, obviously, is waited. We definitely didn't play the best game, but we did mulligan to 4 that game, and we had outs to win. Obviously, playing on Moto, we had time. We had the time advantage. You know, we're up 10 minutes on clock, so very likely that we could have just won that game on time. But the fact that we were going to win that game, be up a game, and they'd have 7, almost like just under 8 minutes to try to win, is something. So yeah, let's move on to our final match, and hopefully we get to do more Greasefang stuff. I actually see more games as well. So here we are for the third and final game. Our opponent chooses to be on the play. Can never seem to win a die roll. This hand is not that great. I mean, we have a Greasefang, but we have an Isuka's Chariot, but like we're not going to be more than likely hitting our land drops, at least from the second game indicated to us. So we'll mulligan. Uh, This hand having a little bit more potential. Being on draw, I guess we could like put down like a chariot because we're gonna want to like get rid of like the Parhelion with a professor symbology. I think I'm willing to keep this hand. Probably put the no. It's really tough. Because like if they're a Thoughtseize deck, we kind of want like chariot anyway because like we could just play this card, kind of grind them out. Then again, like Eldritch Evolution, just being able to have like another copy of Greasefang if they thought sees us. We're gonna put the cats to the bottom. We're gonna go for the kind of all-out play of just getting Parhelion into play and completely putting our opponent grinding them to dust. That being said, there's definitely an argument for keeping Isuka's Chariot because we can kind of like we can bounce it, make 2 cats, crew attack, make a 3rd cat from the attack, return it if it survives combat, and then play it again to put it back into play. Our opponent leads on Temple Garden. That could mean that we are playing the mirror. So drawing Thoughtseize, pretty sweet. So I'm going to Thoughtseize them and see what's going on. Probably, I'm expecting to see the Greasefang like mirror, but they have like Satyr Wayfinder and like Greasefang and other thing. But they're playing Green White Angels, so interesting. We can take the Giada, and that essentially ramps them, or we can take like the Resplendent Angel. The Resplendent Angel is definitely the best card, but like Giada is a card that they can play on their next turn. So 2/2, flying. We're probably not beating a Resplendent Angel. That's probably just straight up facts. So we're gonna hope that we draw a second land. We're going to want the Satyr Wayfinder to hit, or to find a land for this Satyr Wayfinder. Oh, play Giada. We know that they have a land in hand that we know about. Land, Parhelion. We might get to the secret mode of this deck where it's miss our land drops until we have to discard to hand size, and we can ditch a Parhelion. Hopefully they play something that's not a Temple Garden or a Jonjo. Egonjo. Egonjo. EI. They get in. Play Brushland, so I'm assuming that's the land that we like knew about. And they just draw like another Resplendent Angel. Might be. Oh no, Righteous Valkyrie. All right, well that's not good. Just the fact that like we need to hit land now. That's not land. Oh boy, this is bad. So definitely looking bad that we didn't mulligan, but I think looking at the deck list, I want to say this deck plays a decent amount of lands too. Plays 21 lands, so like we have like 20 more lands. 31 spells, 21 lands. All right, cool. We reached the secret mode of discarding Parhelion to hand size. But it might be too late. They are hitting us for 5, so we go to 6, and if they magically don't play anything with 6 mana, probably like a Resplendent Angel, which means that they'll 5 mana. This is Lyra. Look at the top 7 cards, but yeah, oh lordy. So they get to put up to 2 things that cost 3 or less. Oh boy. Yeah, no, that's gonna do it for me here. Pack it in. There was the land, which would have milled more stuff. So we would have hit a third land too. So like, I needed to hit it way sooner, obviously, but you know it is what it is. So I think we can bring in these maybe Abrupt Decay. Raven Feeblement's probably better. Like Ray and Fatal Push. Get rid of these duresses. Duress is probably not very good. Kind of like shaving the can't stay away. And I would think that maybe Sky Sovereign isn't. Sky Sovereign's probably like decent. No, it really doesn't kill a lot of their things. I'm gonna get rid of it. Play some more like this. Pretty good removal. Raven Feeblement getting give a white creature gives a creature -4/-1, but if that creature is white, it gives it -4/-4 instead. So that'll be something. And this hand is pretty good. Just it needs black mana, but we have Rafine's Informant and Satyr Wayfinder. So like, if we miss, we could just like Satyr Wayfinder to like try to give us the best chance of finding a black source. If we find it, then like we can just play Rafine's Informant and do our thing. Elvish Mystic, cool. Hoping to draw like obviously like a Blooming Marsh or something like that. Another Razor Ridge Thicket. All right. All right. We're gonna believe in the heart of the cards. Ah, damn it, Yugi. All right. Well, we managed to find like all of our green-white sources and none of our black sources, which is very unfortunate because we know from just the last game we want to get to the ground early against this deck, and if they have like another Giada, it's going to be pretty bad for us. Which is 3 minutes. Righteous Valkyrie, just a 2/4 currently. Oh lordy. All right. Well, I guess this works the same, so we can. Not the way that we drew it up, but this works. We can go get a Greasefang and turn our opponent into a fine paste. Again, having a stop set in the beginning of combat so we can crew, and we have another Rafine's Informant to like put it in the graveyard. Here we go. Attack with 2 4/4s. Our opponent could have like a crazy turn, but I guess they could play like another white source and get to put like one angel into play, but they still have to contend with us like playing a Rafine's Informant, ditching a Parhelion, and if they don't have a answer for Greasefang, they just have to deal with the Parhelion all over again. That said, if we just draw an Overgrown Tomb or something like that, now Overgrown Tomb has to be like the land that we draw, because it'll come into play untapped. So then they're going to gain 4 life from the Righteous Valkyrie because of the Bishop of Wings toughness. 2 mana, I guess Gyata is going to be pretty bad because then they get to gain 6 life, which sucks for us. And then like they're going to be able to like turn these into like 1/1s if they want to, and they're probably going to have to if they since they tapped out. But it might not be enough. Fiend's Informant. This to be 16. It's going to be 21. There we go. Crew. Not going to miss our trigger. Of note, and what we probably should have done, because I just keep misplaying because I just get lost in the sauce. We could have played this on black, played the Satyr Wayfinder, crewed with this, and also got an attack in with the Greasefang, and that probably like for sure locked up lethal. Because I think they block, they take 4, 8, 12, they go to 3. Yeah, that actually would have been a lethal attack. Granted, now that they're kind of like chumping with these things, like the best they're gonna be able to do is they're gonna make some spirits. They make some spirits with these. They're gonna go to 3, and even if they play like an angel, they're not really going to have much of anything. We are going to pass though. Put this back into our hand, and our opponent has to have like a board wipe essentially. And even then, like we just have Satyr Wayfinder, hopefully mill a vehicle plus Greasefang to like get it back and attack them. Nykthos is like the land. Right. Right from the kitchen, place Crowd 23. Nice. Thanks, Moto. They had us in the first half, not gonna lie. So they could. Green, white. I don't know what this could be. I mean, they have to deal with a bunch of like flyers. Like even just like what's in play is lethal. So they have this plus like an angel. They get to gain 8 life. They go up to 15. Oh, Skyclave Apparition. Hitting, I guess they can only hit Greasefang or a Fiend's Informant. Imagine it's got to be Greasefang, but we still have just the opportunity to Wayfinder plus Temple Garden plus Greasefang, so that works. They have 3 flyers, so they get to block these. I mean, essentially hoping that we hit big here. Satyr. Another Parhelion, I think, wins the game. That's a boat and a chariot. We'll take Marsh. Yeah, then we can play this. Untapped. Play Greasefang, and this should be game 3. Rolled up. So we can get back Sky Sovereign. Enters, it's going to shoot the Gyata. Attack, shoot the Skycleave Apparition. And then like they have these flyers. Like we could just like shoot down their flyers and get in for lethal there plus like the ship. It probably doesn't matter as long as we just like kill 2 things with the boat. So that went really well. Question is like, is there anything else that we want? Like, I would imagine that like the Shieldred probably like on an empty board is pretty good. I don't know if there's like anything else I necessarily want. Like the dresses aren't all that great. Yeah, let's just go ahead and click submit. Hopefully we can cash in this 3rd and final game. Gonna be a little bit tougher on the draw just because we've seen them get out to a relatively quick start, so we're kind of hoping that we can do the same. And this hand's just looking for a Greasefang. We have Fatal Push for like a Gyata if they play it. So I mean, definitely, I think a keep for us. We're pretty stuck, kind of playing this pathway on green. But you know, I guess we don't necessarily have to play it on green. Like we're gonna play this courtyard first. Play land tap, so hopefully that means they're planning to play Giada on turn 2. Draw a Rafine's Informant, nice. Even though we have the Chariot, I mean, we have like all 3 of our vehicles, so like we can just kind of pick which one's gonna be pretty good. Giada, perfect. Just do this now. There's really like no reason to waste time. Just go ahead and get that thing off the battlefield. Play this. Bad if we find a Satyr Wayfinder, but like we also have this Professor of Symbology. Thoughtseize. Well, we're gonna ditch the Parhelion. We have a few more draws to find something. To find like a land. Since we have like, our draw step plus like Professor of Symbology, we're gonna discard the Sky Sovereign and probably ride Chariot to victory. Beseiju. So we can Thoughtseize now. Giada collected company, and they played their 3rd land, so they're going to play collected company. And it seems like we're going to have to double Thoughtseize to take that collected company because that's just a lot of value. Leave them with the Giada and like kind of hope to find like Greasefang. So like the Giada is gonna like allow them to gain 2 life. So they play Giada, so they have Beseiju left in hand, which is rather sad for us, but we are able to play the Professor, get our cantrip, hopefully. Raise a Rich Thicket, so we can actually do that then. Professor. So we can get Necrotic Fumes, we exile a creature to exile one of theirs. The Valkyrie would be good, but like they have a Beseiju. Like, I don't know if we're necessarily worried about Beseiju. We're gonna go get basic Conjuration. Play this land tapped. Probably should just get in with this Rafine's Informant. They do have a uh, whatever at the ready, and it is actually bad if they're not going to hit one of our lands. Them stone raining us like doesn't take us off of anything. It'd be really bad if they decided to go after one of our green sources, because then we can't cast the basic conjuration. But they have more than likely no way of knowing that they can completely take us off mana. Hoping to find a boat or a land for a boat. We can get rid of this Giada. Professor. So I think if we do this, possibly just looking for like Shieldred as well. We find Greasefang in all this. This gains us some life. So if we attack, they gain it for 6, put us to 7. They gain it for 4, put us to 9. But then we can't. Alright, so kind of hoping that we draw land. We can use Professor to discard the Sky Sovereign. We can blow up Giada. Alright, that's fine. So whenever an angel enters the battlefield, you control, put a counter. Whenever another angel. How do they get 2 counters? Oh, it gets a +1/+1 counter for each other angel on the battlefield. Gross. Again for 4. Yeah, just hoping to draw the Professor. Get to discard the Sky Sovereign to draw. Then they can besiege you us, but then they have like a 3/5. Just not that much going on. Satyr Wayfinder. Alright, so they have 3, 5, 6, 7 damage. I don't know if we can wait another turn. I guess we technically have like 1 more turn, so like I'm gonna go Satyr will give us the best chance of like finding a land, because if we wait another turn, then a shock land is essentially like turned off. Mill another Parhelion, so yeah, we'll take Concealed Courtyard, put into hand, play a Professor. Discard a Sky Sovereign, pick up another Chariot. Get in with these knuckleheads. I guess they get to eat one with a Valkyrie, and then they decide if they want to trade a Paradise Druid for the Symbology or the Rafine's Informant, which they will. Alright, so at least if we draw the boat, this is 5, 7. Actually, don't think it matters. I think we're dead. I don't think it matters what we do now. I think we had to hit the land that turn to mess with this Giada. Overgrown Tomb. Well, the only way we really beat it is if we Greasefang. Sky Sovereign. Kill the 1 creature that we can actually kill with it. Unfortunately, like they didn't have like a 3-mana play, because if they did, then they would have to respond right now, and then like we could have gotten them with the just not having enough mana. But they get to do it anyway. Like we're essentially just kind of like waiting. Yeah, they do it. Sure, we'll use Sage's ability. Go get a. Doesn't matter. Because we can't shock it into play anyway. So Godless Shrine, no. Crew 3 happens, nothing, and we're dead. Oh. Unfortunate. Definitely had a chance to win. Sad way to end it, but of course we will shock, and Brian from the kitchen wins the match. Tough way to lose, but like that's kind of like what the Angel deck does. If we were just like a hair faster, we could have won that game. So, yeah, we will kind of head to the wrap up and get this all kind of figured out and sorted. So here we are with the wrap up of the Abzan Greasefang deck. We went 2-1 in our 3 matches, beating some Sultai like Delirium base deck, playing some pretty sweet cards, honestly, in my opinion, and beating a blue black control on a punt, but a win's a win. And losing to green white angels, which I think is I think an underplayed and underrepresented deck in the Pioneer format, just because it has draws where it kind of goes insane and just puts a bunch of things into play, and stonewalls our deck. But that being said, we did mulligan pretty deep in a lot of our games, necessarily for hands that were kind of close, but maybe on the weaker side. I don't think that means that you're supposed to keep those hands that are a little bit weak. Definitely in a format dominated by red-black mid-range, and even this deck as well that is playing four Thoughtseize, mulliganing against those decks, it just makes your keeps worse. So I think you're maybe supposed to keep some more like medium hands. That said, if you can, if you know what your opponent's playing and you know they're not like necessarily Thoughtseize deck, you can mulligan pretty aggressively for your combo. And we did get to show it off where we did get to Greasefang, Parhelion, and we even did some stuff with like Sky Sovereign. Iska's Chariot, not so much showing up. Would have been pretty good again in the Sultai matchup for the fact of just getting to put a bunch of cats into play and just kind of gum up the board and make it very hard for them to get through our wall of cats and Chariot. Shieldred didn't come up, but I definitely like this option of having just one copy of Shieldred in your deck. The fact that it does crew the rest of your cards, and it's so powerful on its own that it's worth playing in a deck that you're going to just be playing 4 Eldritch Evolution and 12 2-drops that are like kind of mopey. Like aside from like Rafine's Informant, this card just being a 3/2 to me has been very good. And like the Professor of Symbology like package in the sideboard has been kind of sweet, just for having some sort of card advantage with basic conjuration. To me, like being like one of the best ones, and gaining you a little bit of life, helping in certain race situations actually helped us out in that last game. Uh, for the fact that like if we could have drawn or maybe just kind of went for it, that we could have gotten back into it and probably won. While we didn't play perfect, 2-1 is still very good. It's hard playing decks like this because there is a bunch of nuances and stuff, and some things that we learned along the way, and that's kind of like the point of playing these matches, and kind of the point of my channel. Period is just trying to get better as players and recognize like when we make mistakes and stuff like that, and learning from those mistakes or just having discussions on how we can play better and things like that. So definitely fun match. Of course, I recommend playing the deck. The deck is sweet. It does something very powerful. And I think between the Eldritch Evolution version and some of like the Traverse deck lists and stuff that are floating around, I don't think you can go wrong necessarily either. I'm probably going to be pretty partial to the Eldritch Evolution version for the fact that there is just some games where you can Evolution for a Shielder on turn 3 and just absolutely win the game, or even like late game getting to pick up a Shieldred, or of course going and getting Greasefang, and expanding the number of copies that you have in your deck is pretty good when you're focusing more necessarily on the combo than you are on trying to be a little bit more like resilient to like some of the thought seasons and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you all stuck around for the entirety of this video. If you did, you're awesome. And of course, those of you that are not subscribed to the channel, again, I implore you to subscribe and leave and ring the notification bell. Leave a like on the video too. That'd be kind of cool. And of course, follow the links in the description to Twitch and Discord as well. uh, Talk about Magic, maybe talk about this deck. That'd be really cool. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next one.